just got some breaking news in from Buckingham Palace, folks. So this statement has just come in from Buckingham Palace, and I'll read it for you. It goes on to say, His Majesty has today initiated a formal process to remove the style, titles, and honours.
The royal family was utterly stunned by what William and Catherine did next, and the most unbelievable part was that they had the full support of the late Queen Elizabeth herself. The decree drops. William looked down at the page. Then he read the words out loud. Camilla was permanently barred from Diana's private vault. Prince William and Catherine just dealt with Camilla in the most brutal way, stripping her of all her titles and all the power she had amassed over the years. Camilla made one final attempt to stop it. William's attention was drawn to something as soon as he made the announcement. But Camilla wasn't shocked at all. Rather, she almost gave the impression that she had been anticipating bad news and knew something was going to happen. Days before William ever opened that file, Camilla had quietly made her own move, sending one of her most trusted officials to the vault records before anyone else could get there. She wanted a head start to find out exactly what was inside that file before it ended up in William's hands. She wanted to find anything that could destroy her before anyone else did, but she received the shock of her life when the official told her that only William could enter. At that point, Charles felt completely powerless. He couldn't even look at Camilla or his son. He couldn't stand up for Camilla without defying the Queen's last order. He couldn't console his son without betraying his wife. He was trapped in the middle, and to be honest, this fight was worth every bit of the drama because that vault wasn't some dusty room that nobody cared about. It contained a private journal from Diana's final year of life, written in her own hand and containing thoughts she never let the world see. Jewelry that no one had ever fully agreed who actually owned. The kind of thing that could start a legal war the moment it left that room, and private recordings. Here's the part no one said out loud, but everyone close to Camilla already knew. She was fighting to get her hands on that vault because she was afraid. She had no idea what Diana actually wrote about her. She was trying to get inside first, so she could make sure nothing in it ever saw daylight. The Queen built a legal wall around that vault because she knew exactly what would happen the moment the wrong hands got that door open. Years before this moment, Charles already knew how his mother felt about Camilla. Music. He could feel the coldness whenever her name came up, so he went to the Queen in private and asked her for one thing. Whatever she truly felt, never let it turn into something public. Music. Never humiliate Camilla in front of the family. The Queen looked at her son and told him plainly that she would protect what mattered, even if it meant embarrassing Camilla in public. He could not defend Camilla without defying his own mother's last word. He couldn't console his son without betraying his wife, and no matter what he did, someone in that room would see him fail them. However, that wasn't the only thing sealed inside that file. Beneath the first music decree was another document that was still closed and had never been opened. William hadn't opened that second seal yet, and it required the same formal procedure as the first, which meant the private secretary had to be present to witness music, and she wasn't even in the building. The part that should have scared Camilla more than anything else in that room was that she was away on other royal business and wouldn't return until the following morning. William closed the file, carrying the weight of knowing that something even heavier was still sitting beneath it, waiting. She had no idea that the second seal even existed, didn't know it was there, didn't know what it said, and didn't know her own name was written into it, too, in a way far more permanent than anything William had just read aloud. She believed the worst was already over, but it wasn't. Not even close. Why the Queen actually wrote it? No one snorts in that room knew that this decree didn't begin today. It began one night years ago at a dinner that no one thought would matter. That night, the Queen picked up the phone and called her own private secretary immediately after dinner ended. There was no warning, no delay. Whatever had just happened at that table shook her enough to act right away. So what actually happened? Let's go back. It was the Balmoral Memorial Dinner, a low-key family meal with no formalities, until Camilla brought up something that completely altered the situation. She asked if some of Diana's belongings could be taken out and displayed, no longer hidden away in storage, but out in public. Music, framed as history, something people could come see. Sounds innocuous, but it wasn't. This is because, prior to the dinner, Camilla had already contacted a private collector, someone who buys and sells similar items, to find out the true value of Diana's belongings. Real numbers, real money, and that's what mattered most. Camilla wasn't doing this for history. She was doing it for herself. She knew exactly how William felt about her, and she knew why. She knew that if William ever had real power, he wouldn't owe her anything, including protection, a place, or anything else. If Charles ever lost control, even for a moment, she would be the first person shown the door, and no one in that family would fight to stop. Music it. William heard it differently than everyone else at that table. Music. He didn't hear history. He heard his mother's memory being turned into something for sale, and he shoved his chair back hard enough for the entire table to feel it. She made up her mind early, grabbed as much money and security as she could while Charles still had the power to hand it to her. So she went looking for a way to covertly turn Diana's private belongings into cash before anyone realized what she was really doing. He stood up and pointed music directly at Camilla's face, telling her that she had destroyed his mother while she was still alive and that now she wanted to reach into her grave and take what was left, too. He asked her, right to music, her face, who gave her the right to even say Diana's name at that table, let alone decide what happened to anything she left behind. Charles attempted to defuse the situation, but it backfired. He was unable to fully music back Camilla and his son, so he was stuck. That hesitation said more than any words could have. Everyone at that table, music, saw it, including Camilla. The Queen didn't say much that evening because she didn't need to, but as she watched her grandson's face change, she realized just how dangerous this was. Diana's memory wasn't just some old family topic anymore. It was a wound sitting inside her own grandson, and Camilla had just reached straight into it. That same night, after everyone had left the table, Catherine started something that no one noticed at the time. The Queen made her own decision as well, calling her private secretary that same evening and dictating the exact words of the decree: cold, careful, and final. She didn't want this to be left up to chance. She didn't want it to depend on anyone's mood or patience years later. She wanted it locked in writing permanently so nobody could soften it. Music later. She named William as the one who would guard that vault going forward. She started discreetly keeping her own private notes on everything that happened inside the family. And now, years later, sitting in that room with the decree already read aloud, William had no idea how far Camilla was willing to go to get around it. He was about to discover the cover-up. Camilla wasn't done, not even close. That same afternoon, right after William's decree stripped her official of any power to help her, Camilla went straight to Plan B, choosing the one man who owed her everything, the palace archivist, because she trusted him to protect Diana without turning his suffering into retaliation. The person in charge of keeping an eye on every record connected to that vault. Why him? Because years ago, Camilla was the reason he was hired in the first place. She made calls, pulled strings, and put his name forward when no one else would. Now, she music was calling in that debt, and he knew it. She sat him down in private and told him exactly what she wanted: to file a request in his own name, not hers, to catalog select items for heritage review. Nothing that could ever be traced to her. Catalog means inspect. Heritage review means someone is already planning to put it on display, and selected items means someone already knows exactly what they want out of that room. That's not preservation, that's access. He agreed, even though he shouldn't have. Dressed up to appear innocent, this is where it all broke apart. The vault ledger shows everything in chronological order, with no gaps, and next to the archivist's new request, there was another entry that demonstrated his private meeting with Camilla on the same day, on the same page, and as proof. The archivist panicked and tore that page straight out of the ledger, hoping it would just look like an old filing music error instead of what it actually was. However, this didn't work because, as you may recall, William warned Camilla the night he read that decree that any attempt to get around it would trigger a full review of every access request tied to that vault. She heard him say it, and she did it anyway. That evening, Catherine sat down with the ledger herself, and something didn't sit well. The page numbers jumped. A page was missing, but it wasn't blank, so she didn't let it go. Instead, she pulled out a different document, the visitor log, which tracked every single person who met with palace officials and the precise date of those meetings. There it was, Camilla's name sitting right next to the archivist on the exact date that fell inside the gap in the missing pages. But that wasn't the only one. Catherine continued to dig, and discovered an earlier meeting with the same two people, another unplanned visit buried further back. This wasn't one desperate moment. This was a pattern, and Catherine went straight to William and told him everything. There was no suspicion, no guesswork, dates, names, a ripped page, a pattern, proof. That night, William confronted Camilla, and this time, there was no soft music about it. He didn't ask Camilla if she was involved. Instead, he told her exactly what she did in order, with dates attached to every move. Camilla flatly denied it, swearing she had never told anyone to circumvent the decree. The archivist, however, did not fare nearly as well. When William brought him in separately, the man broke completely. He was no longer afraid of Camilla. Instead, he was afraid of losing everything: his job, music, his pension, and his entire future, due to a single decision he made because he felt he owed her. William did not wait for further apologies. Instead, he immediately froze the entire vault access system, making it impossible for any employee, archivist, official, or other person to move, touch, photograph, or catalog anything related to Diana without his written consent. The second decree, that same night, before William could even decide what to do about the archivist, the man made the decision for him. He resigned like music that. He couldn't live with what he'd done, and he knew Catherine already had all the evidence she needed against him. William didn't celebrate that, but he didn't have time because the most difficult conversation of the day was still waiting for him, and it wasn't with Camilla. For once, Charles didn't try to defend Camilla. Instead, he looked at his son and acknowledged the music, truth. This decree didn't just protect a vault. It ripped open every piece of pain the family had spent years pretending was gone. He told William that witnessing his own mother reach from the grave to protect Diana proved one thing: the family never truly healed. It was with his own father. William informed him straight up, this was never about punishing music, Camilla, and they simply stopped talking about it. Diana's dignity was at stake. Nothing more. He assured Charles that until actual evidence required it, the missing ledger page would not be utilized as a weapon. He would not allow pain to become retaliation. Charles agreed to it. He pledged not to oppose music, the decision, modify it, or force his son to compromise the Queen's last word in order to appease anyone. However, the entire nation was already becoming aware of the tale outside of it, as that discussion was taking place behind closed doors. It was all over the place by dawn. It was dubbed the Queen's Last Wall in newspaper headlines. Camilla blocked access to Diana's vault, placing William's picture next to Diana's as if they were still engaged in combat side by side. Music. Before noon, crowds gathered outside the royal gates. Some people were setting down white roses as if Diana had just passed away. It was described by a broadcaster as the most intensely emotional royal order of the contemporary era. And by lunchtime, that one line had appeared on every channel. Catherine entered, music, quickly. She cautioned William that rather than adding gasoline to the flames, the palace's answer was to preserve dignity. Instead of William being the son defending his mother's memory, one incorrect sentence turns Camilla into a target and turns William into the antagonist. A cautious statement was approved by Charles. It verified that Diana's collection continued to be safeguarded by royal decree. It made no direct mention of Camilla. William acknowledged music that, even so, Camilla could still feel every bit of the sting. The one person William had been waiting for eventually returned through the palace doors the following morning. Music. The private secretary returned because, as you may recall, the second seal from the first morning was still closed and was located beneath the first decree. She had to be there to see it open. Up until today, music had not been accessible. William closed the door. There was only him, her, and whatever the Queen had locked away for this very moment. No witnesses or audience beyond what was necessary for the procedure. Everything changed when he cracked the seal. Not a second decree had been drafted by the Queen. The entire vault was surrounded by a permanent structure that she had constructed. One that would never again rely on the word of a single individual. It identified an executive who was not related to the family at all. Music, no royal allegiance, no palace title. Camilla could never control, intimidate, or charm anyone. No one could provide entrance to that vault on their own from now on, not even William or a future king. Every single occasion, this executive had to concur with music. This is the portion that struck even more forcefully. The Queen did not choose that executive's name at random. During her lifetime, Diana's personal estate was overseen by the solicitor. Years before she passed away, Diana personally selected him. This precaution was not created by the Queen. She was completing a request made by Diana. Then came the line that left William motionless. That second seal contained words that clearly addressed what Camilla had just attempted to accomplish. Someone who discreetly circumvents the decision on her behalf by utilizing a staff member. The Queen didn't merely speculate that something might occur in the future. She was aware. Years before Camilla ever made it, she had this precise move planned. Camilla didn't anticipate it. The first decree, in her opinion, was the worst penalty she could receive. She was mistaken. Before she had attempted any move, the Queen had already stopped them all. Nor did her unsuccessful attempt with the archivist, music, simply vanish. It was forever recorded and affixed to her name. This meant that any requests that came from her office in the future would be identified and halted before they ever made it to a desk. That same day, Williams signed the final enforcement order. Two things were accomplished simultaneously by that single signature. Camilla was permanently barred from the vault, and it prevented her from ever trying to sneak back in. Camilla had nothing left. There is no way in, no way out, and no way back. Never, ever, not now. William never once showed signs of rage, and Catherine remained by his side the entire time, even though it would have been simpler to be angry. Music. Ultimately, Camilla wasn't simply locked out of a room by the Queen. Before she had a chance, she caught her attempting to violate the rules after death. Camilla lost all hope and realized there was nothing more she could do.